Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
And welcome to the Rag Company Podcast. I'm Dane Hennen. To my right, not Levi Gates. Wait a second. It's Next Day Nate.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Everybody's spoken, and I've listened.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sorry Levi was sick and couldn't, but we have the lights out in memoriam for him right here.
That's
and
weird.
I just wanted to make sure I addressed, the elephant in the room. Not that you're an elephant, but moving on. Anthony across from me.
Hey, what is that supposed to mean, Dane?
I
think he
have
was talking
no
about you.
idea.
Is it because I've gained a few pounds? Okay.
You've lost a few pounds, but that's something we'll get into later. And to my left,
Will we?
Morgan.
Hey
McMurray.
guys, welcome to my show.
Oh, it's your show now. Okay, well, we're having fun already. So, things get weird when Levi leaves, I guess. But any rate, I feel like, are we going to address some detailing stuff on the show, or is it going to be about our weekends? What's going to happen?
We were going to address some detailing stuff because based off of a phone call I just had.
Ooh.
Great phone call. It was actually...
I heard you, kind of shooting the breeze.
yeah.
It seemed like you two were pals.
Yeah, we shot the stuff.
Palling
and,
around.
And, a
You were
listener of
gonna
the
love this car
podcast
wash towel.
and a watcher of the Rag Company YouTube channel. Speaking of which, we are still running the survey. It is 2020 Rise of the Survey, so if you haven't filled out the YouTube survey, head to the Rag Company Podcast Facebook group to find those survey links and fill them out so we have your feedback to know what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong and how we can fix it for 2020. Now, we're going to get into detailing here in just a little bit, but as usual, we're going to start with our quick and short weekends because I want to know what people did, and I want to know specifically what Next Day Nate and the Next Day Nation tackled.
Well, we didn't do a whole lot.
Oh, okay. I guess that's okay.
So-
Dane.
Go ahead.
Yeah, man, it was nice on Saturday. I just wanted to do something. So,
Yeah.
packed up the irons, went to the driving range, and it was good. I filmed myself a little bit, trying to get,
Back in the groove of
You gotta
things.
love slow motion on the phones.
Yeah.
You just set it up. So that was nice. Wanted to do it so much that I decided to do it on Sunday as well, and Sunday was gorgeous.
Wow.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Went out with a buddy, and then we went back to his house, and we had a game night,
Fun.
and then ended up with just watching Fast and Furious 6 and 7.
As you do.
Ooh,
As you do.
That's great.
Which, by the way, his
Back to back.
favorite is Tokyo Drift.
Hey, you know what?
And I
You
know,
know what? That's fine.
that's one
I
of
stand
your
up in
favorites.
solidarity
It's one of my
with the
favorites.
people
It's one of my
who
favorites.
It's not
Tokyo
my
Drift.
it's not my favorite, but if you don't know, Tokyo Drift actually falls between 6 and 7.
Yeah.
It's kind of a Star Wars situation there.
Yeah. It is.
But
We call that retcon.
his wife made some great street tacos, and we had games. Like I said, we played a new game. It was a not safe for work game.
Ooh.
Very
Okay.
18 plus.
I like those.
It was a card game. You just slap down and you say the color or the swear word that's on the card. Then if you mess up, you have to take all the cards. So you can go all the way around the horn, and if you mess up and there's like 15 cards there, you have to add them to your deck and just keep slapping.
Yeah.
And you have to say it fast enough. And if you mess up, like let's say on this bead maker, if the word is bead or the word is red and the color is red, then you have to say red. But if the word was purple but the color was red, you have to say red. And so it's one of those
that'll mess
really
with
breaks
you.
your brain.
Yikes.
But if it's a swear word, you have to say the swear word.
Gotcha.
Even if it's a different color.
I'm guessing a lot of swear words were said, but it's because people were getting them wrong.
Yes, yeah, pretty much. And then it's a lot of fun.
All right.
It's
noted.
called F dash dash dash, but
I
no
like that.
dashes.
Those are cool.
Got
Yeah.
it.
So
That sounds like a good game, Nate. Well, I'm
Nice.
glad they had a fantastic weekend, and I think that game nights with the friends and family are always a good time.
Yeah.
Lots of camaraderie, as well as great memories to be made eating street tacos and watching the Fast and Furious franchise.
well, and last weekend we had a game night as well, and we had played Monopoly with all of us.
Wow.
And that was the
Aw.
first time I'd ever played Monopoly in a long time, and
Oh.
I won.
Whoa.
You
Wow.
won? You guys
Wow.
actually
You
finished a
finished
game
the
of
We
Monopoly?
finished.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's what impresses me more than
And it's
anything.
funny because everybody else, we had probably 4 other players, my wife included, that had gotten out, and they decided to go play Catan.
Yeah.
And one of my buddies was like, "You guys are still playing? You guys are still finishing?" Yeah. Well, he was just a little bummed that he lost.
Yeah.
So he was giving us a hard time. But all around the board were just hotels.
Man.
You got to hotels. Wow.
Hotels. I had a
Wow.
hotel.
That's fantastic.
On Boardwalk.
No way.
And the one next to it. So anytime we'd land on it, it was like
Dude.
$1,000.
Wrecks. It's a home wrecking situation. Yeah.
Ah.
No.
He ended
it's-
up having to finance everything at the end of it.
Really.
And it was nice. I had a stack of 500s like this big.
So I guess the question is do you guys play specifically by the rules, or will you kind of make up your own rules? Like, for example, like I'll loan people money at an interest rate, and I say, hey, you can make it around the board once or twice, but I want 20% back of whatever I loan you.
There are
right?
no rules.
And so I make up stuff like that on the fly, or I'll trade chores. Like I'll say, hey, if Katie's running a Monopoly, and I'll say, hey, listen, like, dude, I need some serious money right now. I promise I will take out the trash for like the next 2 weeks if you just throw me 500.
And you got to
she's
write
like,
that down.
For
Yeah,
500
and
bucks?
she's like, yeah, she's like 500. She's like, can you have to vacuum my car? And I'm sitting here, I'm like, God, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, well, how bad is this gonna get? You know what I'm saying? Before
You might as well just take the loss, man.
I know.
Yeah.
So anyway, but that's just how crazy Monopoly can get. I totally understand what you're saying there. So, Dane, what did you do this weekend? Because I heard you were riding a bucking Bronco. Is that true?
Not exactly true.
I
Although,
wanted to text the whole group text and be like, guys, just give me the Cliff Notes, please. There were like 100
a
texts.
million texts.
Yeah.
Well, Levi asked questions, and I had to give him detailed responses. I didn't have to, but I did.
Well,
So-
fill people in, Dane. What's going on?
Well, you know me. I'm
But don't count your chickens.
No, that's the thing is I think after this weekend I've decided I'm mostly just looking at cars out of restlessness and kind of for the fun of it.
You've only got the 2 now. So
Well, I've got
Feels
3.
empty.
are you
I've got 3, but
3?
yeah, I've got the C-Max, the truck, and the Jag. So,
Okay, well
yeah.
the C-Max doesn't really count.
Yeah, people forget
are you
about the
screaming
C-Max.
for attention right now?
No.
Looking for a new car?
The Jag gives them
That's-
plenty of attention.
See, the Jag is all the attention I need and want. The problem is the second anything gets a little bit sketchy outside, I realize there are people out in the comments saying, but Dane, just throw snow tires on. Rear-wheel drive isn't that bad in the snow. I'm not as concerned about that part as I am about the ground clearance part. See, the thing around here is, if you get the snow frozen to the ground and it turns into a giant ice brick, basically turns into concrete that's raised above the road. And if trucks and stuff, which are predominantly what you have here in Idaho, leave ruts in the road, there's a nice big gap in the middle for you to just absolutely destroy the underside of your car if you're low.
Yeah, it'll wreck you.
So
Luckily, we haven't seen that yet.
no, not yet.
Just get a front diffuser.
Yeah, so unless I want to like go full safari build with the Jag, I kind of have to keep it, where it is and
All right.
compromise with something with a little more ground clearance. So
Yeah.
All right.
that's why I've been looking, and there's nothing wrong with the
So
sport
you-
track apart from the fact that I can't get it to engage 4-wheel drive. There's something with the control module. I looked it up. The module's like $200, but I want to make sure it's like not a switch or something first. Frankly, I've been lazy. I haven't fixed it because I haven't really needed 4-wheel drive on it yet. But otherwise, it's been good to me. It's just boring, and that's honestly it. It's just boring. So I've been looking around
kind of
for other. It's a grandpa truck.
And it's champagne, which
It's-
anybody knows. All Explorers came in champagne.
It is that champagne color that everybody looks at and goes, "Oh wow, I'm looking right at it, and I forgot it already." So
Yeah.
it's that kind of thing.
All right,
But
I get it.
I looked at some vehicles. I looked at a really cheap Honda Element that was busted.
Yeah.
But it had a clean title. It was just rough, and it drove in a manner that had me wondering if it had been in an accident and somebody just hadn't reported it.
Hey man, you
I was like, clean
you got
title's
3 cars. You
debatable
don't
right
have to
now.
settle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is like I plan to sell the truck at some point and replace it with something that I feel like is more me, because I'm just not feeling it with the Explorer Sport Track. I like it for what it is, and I should be thankful that I have this opportunity. I get it. I'm not trying to sound ungrateful, but it's one of those things where, man, if I got the option, I want to swap it for an Element or a Bronco or something like that.
Tell
So,
you what, get the 4-wheel drive fixed.
yeah.
Make a profit. Clean it and take good pictures.
All it needs is I replace the fog light and I fix the 4-wheel drive, and it's good. It's great. otherwise.
Yeah.
It looks really good to an old grandpa
So
who wants to buy a truck. But I went and I looked at a
Yeah.
Bronco this weekend, which is what you're alluding to.
And how did that start, Dane? Because Anthony was on Facebook Marketplace.
See, the funny thing is these guys think they gave him the idea. What they don't realize is literally the night before the day that they
You
all
did
came
say
to
that.
me with, oh, Dane, you should look at Broncos. I was actually kind of looking at Broncos.
And all
So,
their quirks and
Because
features.
I was in the other office, and I saw this Bronco pop up on Facebook Marketplace, and I said, I always say this stuff every single day. I say, Dane, you seem like a Bronco kind of guy. And then Dane comes out of his office, and he's like, you know what? It's funny that you say that, and then go into what you were saying.
Yeah. So the thing with the Bronco is it does satisfy those quirks, that funkiness that I'm
Yeah.
looking for. I love that you have a roll down rear window. I love that it has a tailgate. I love that the top comes off.
OJ loved all those things as well.
As well as
He
the glorious 5 miles to the gallon.
The one I was looking at was not white.
Okay, that's good.
But that's the
But,
only kind of Bronco to get.
But yeah, those late model Broncos are not bad trucks. And a lot of people like that particular body style that Ford
Yeah.
did around the time, the mid 90s. That was a good looking body
Yeah.
style. And it's the last time. 96 was the last year of the Broncos. So that was when they introduced OBD2, which is what this truck has. It was in 96. So I was like, oh, it's an XLT. It's got, higher trim stuff. It's not the Eddie Bauer, but it's like the next step below that. And it had a lot of good stuff on it. Problem was, this guy was a little bit, sometimes when you want
He's
to
a
buy a
Bronco
car
person.
you want to buy a car on Craigslist or Facebook, and you get somebody who's like, they probably feel like that the government's out to get them, like they're watching, and they're really paranoid about giving out any details about their location or any of that stuff. Like, I get being cautious, but at the same time, this guy was super cagey, so it was a little weird. Then I met him, and he was
Nicholas KG.
no, like.
I should have brought my slide whistle in.
Missed opportunity.
God.
Any rate, I was like pulling teeth just to find out where I was supposed to go to look at this truck.
Yeah.
Even though he had basically told me like he was willing to go $1,000 below what he was asking on the listing. So I was like, okay. But then as I got to look at it, the frustrating part was it looked rough, and I knew that going in because I had the bumpers removed for the sake of like showing the details, but you had the bumpers. They just weren't great. But I found out that the truck had a branded title after thinking it was clean. And I went, oh. And the problem was, of all the Broncos that were for sale here locally, it was the newest. It had the lowest miles, and it didn't say anything about a branded title. It didn't say anything about a clean title, in fairness, either. But, they don't have to give all the details right away. So it's kind of frustrating to find that out. And I'm like, even at the price, like, we're talking less than $2,000 for this thing. And I know, yes, when the new Bronco comes out, older ones will become slightly more, people will want them more again. Just I'll be reminded. But this will not happen with a branded title or a really rough example. It just won't happen.
I don't know. Don't say that. I mean, look at 80s Camaros. No one thought those were going to be popular,
Yeah.
and now they're coming back.
They got that going for them. But, I mean, all I'm saying is, like, this one, it was nicer inside than I expected. The problem was he, like, broke a bracket for the rear, top, so it wouldn't stay fixed. I had to buy, like, an extra
forgot my
bracket or
checkbook.
something. Yeah, so there were, like, little things that just made it, like, it's kind of nickel and diming.
Sure.
I got to say no at a certain point, but I told him I'd sleep on it. So it drove really good. That's what surprised me, is it actually drove fine. The powertrain sounded good. All that stuff was great. 4-wheel drive engaged. All that stuff was good.
Automatic or manual?
It was an auto. There's only one manual for sale
okay.
locally here, and it's my least favorite body
Yeah.
style of all of them. It's the early mid-90s one. It's the flat face, just a
Gotcha.
scrunched. But any rate, yeah. So I looked at. I'm not really sure about it. I thought about two-door Tahoes and like Suburbans.
Oh yeah,
Blazers kind of
I'm
thing
a
too.
Tahoe person for sure.
The problem is when you get those early mid-90s ones, you can't take the top off. That's like half the fun right there. That's
Debatable.
half the
really.
fun. I mean, granted,
When
the
are
top
you gonna take the top off?
in the summertime so that Jimmy
No.
can shoot out the side and get
No.
sweet rollers of cars.
No.
when
You're
we're-
gonna roll down the back window.
So there's that. But I mean, talking about that. So any rate, yeah, I'm looking at one of those today for fun, just
Alright.
just cause.
Alright.
There's one listed for like $2,500. It's a 2-door 98. Yeah, so it's basically the good body style. I like them, but yeah, you
Yeah.
can't take the top off. So, but it looks pretty beefy. So should be kind of fun. No guarantees,
nothing
guys.
wrong with a big
For-
full size V8.
For anybody
Yeah.
looking
Two-door.
around who's just like, this is ridiculous, Dane, stop. I don't
I
want to
love
hear
it.
about cars
This is
anymore. I
literally-
just think it's kind of fun. So,
It is.
guys, in the comments, gals as well, in the comments, if you had an option for a goofy, interesting third car that had to be cheap, just for something interesting as like a winter beater or something like that, what would you choose? I'm
A
just
Geo
curious.
Metro.
Throw it out there. Geo Metro, lifted.
Yeah.
Ooh, what about a Suzuki
I would
X90?
roll
Remember
it.
those?
Dane,
purpose.
That's
no,
a
hey, no,
Volvo.
no, Dane. What's that one?
No.
What's the one car that looks like a Baja car that looks like it's already lifted? There's that
The one
green.
that we
There's
saw
that
in New
green one.
Jersey?
There's that green one that kind of comes around the office here every once in a while. It's the one.
Is he talking about a Nissan Juke?
No, it's not a Juke. It kind of looked, but it was like a naturally lifted,
Get a Brat.
not a Brat.
I mean, I love Brats. That'd be a cool
what
one.
the heck was that car? It comes in yellow. It comes in everything.
remember.
Does it have a truck bed?
No, not really.
No. A
If
Baja?
he's talking
No.
about Subaru Baja or something.
No, it's not a
Interesting.
Baja.
Oh,
It's
I
the
hate
one.
Well,
those.
he's definitely not talking about a local motors rally fighter because that would be crazy expensive if you don't see those.
No, Dane. We've seen it multiple times. I forget the name every single time.
And it comes through the parking
it
lot?
comes. It looks like it's already lifted. Basically, it has a weird. It's almost like a car that looks like if you were to take like a Subaru Baja, right, and cut off the tail end of it, lift it, and then put fat tires on it.
That's a...
Then you would
It's a
just
strange looking vehicle.
you would have
Comment
a
below.
Crosstrek.
It kind of is like a Crosstrek, but I can't remember what it was. I think it's like an older Suzuki.
Even though the Crosstrek is an Impreza and not a Legacy,
Yeah.
the point still stands.
Correct. Anyways, Dane, I'm sorry. I don't know the
we
name
digress,
of it.
but I'm curious. So, people, write in the comments what weirdo stuff should I be looking for? I mean, Elements, Broncos, and GC8 Imprezas. But good luck finding a good coupe one of those. With a
I sent you
WRX
I
swap.
sent you a listing for an MR2.
That's true. Really impractical for the winter as a secondary beater, but
man.
you know, I feel bad beating up one of those. I love those.
Great little cars.
Just get yourself some good tires. All right,
Yeah.
Morgan.
Anyway, moving on to Morgan.
Hey guys. So,
Hey, guys.
hey guys. On Saturday, which I think is the beginning of the weekend,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right. So on Saturday, just kind of take it easy, just chilling. And then went to a birthday party later in the day.
Cool.
So that was fun. And the birthday party, part of the birthday party was to watch this fight thing that was happening.
Oh, Gregor.
I
How did
watched
that
as
go?
well. It was
So-
really good.
Really?
So I'm not really a person who like keeps up on that, you know,
Yeah, me
but
neither.
but it's kind of like a social event kind of thing, you know, just like like the Super Bowl, like I don't care.
People make a thing out of
I
it.
go for
yeah.
the commercials type one of those things. Yeah.
So anyways, we're at this birthday party just snacking. You know, I brought some 7-layer dip cuz that's the best thing.
From Albertsons?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the best. That or the guacamole.
Mhm.
Can I say the B word? Is that okay?
I don't know what B word you're referring to.
The
but
swear B word?
Lady
What?
dog B word?
Yeah.
Okay, if it's the name of a product, go for it.
Yeah. So Albertsons sells a salsa called 3 Spicy Bitches.
Oh, okay.
Very, very good.
What?
It's very good. It's
I
called-
was not
yeah.
aware that Albertsons carried that.
And that's
but
the only place I
fun.
can find it. So next function,
Are
take
they
that
like-
salsa.
Tiny ones or are they like big ones?
The bitches?
Yeah.
No.
Dane, it's called the something cross. The something cross.
Oh, Via Cross.
The Via Cross.
Isuzu.
Oh,
Isuzu.
the
Isuzu.
Isuzu Vehicross.
That's
Yes,
it,
the car that
Dane.
was designed after a sneaker.
I wanted one of those ever since I saw Spy
Yes.
Kids.
Dane, that's what you
man,
need. Sorry,
I wanted
Morgan.
one ever since I
did.
sat in the back of one at the
How did
98
you get
Seattle
that
International Auto Show.
So it's a Via Cross. Okay, sorry, Morgan.
Okay.
Continue.
Sorry.
So,
Anyway.
so the 7-layer dip.
So the 7-layer dip, yeah. Snacking on that. I'm not really understanding what's going on, but I'm watching all these people punching each other in the face. And I'm like, wow.
In the face.
Exhilarating.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the
Then the
main,
main
part
card.
finally gets there, and you're like, woohoo! Like, this is going to be good. Because, you know, I'm watching all these people, and I'm like, they're just like, you know, kind of barely like punching each other. I'm
Sure.
like, you know, let's get the big,
well,
let's
it's
get
a
the
little
big dogs
little
in
spar, you know.
Yeah, I'm like, what the heck? So then we get to the main one, right? And I'm like, yeah, this is it. This is where it's gonna get good. And then, you know, Brandon was like, "Oh, it's gonna be over in the second round," and I'm like, "What? No, like these guys are good. Like, what do you mean? Like, what?"
The good ones tend to be shorter.
And then so we're just sitting there, and it starts. The little timer starts, and then it gets to like.
Yeah, it was
15
good.
seconds in, and then he's already like on the ground, and I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
And then they pulled the guy off, and then everyone in the room,
because he wasn't even trying.
No, and then everyone in the room was like going crazy, and I was like,
Connor's hair wasn't even disheveled. He didn't even get hit in the face.
He didn't even get hit once, and so I was like, "What?" And then they were like, that was it, and I was like, "What?" Like, no, like they didn't even, nothing even happened.
That was it.
I didn't want Connor to win just because of everything that had happened. He's very, very cocky, very arrogant. I guess he's changed his ways because that wasn't necessarily good for his brand. But he was the better fighter. He came out and he just...
Who did he fight?
The cowboy,
The cowboy,
Yeah.
Cerrone.
He fought an actual cowboy from...
No,
like
this
the
guy's
late 1800s or like what? What?
He's a bar fighter, man. He just loves fighting.
So he's not an actual fighter.
No, well, he is. He's been around UFC a long time.
Oh, okay.
But
he typically fights in bars.
He just loves fighting. Like when they showed a little bit of an intro for Connor and the two fighters, he was riding by on his horse on his farm. I mean,
like honestly, like I think that if you would have thrown a couple of broken bottles into that mix, it would have been a lot more interesting.
It would have been.
It also would have been a crime.
I don't know.
Dane, it's live television. You can get away with anything
There's
nowadays.
blood on the mat. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that one girl. I don't know if you saw that one girl.
That was just bleeding from the head.
Bleeding from her head so much, and I'm freaking out. I'm like,
Oh my
do we
God.
just keep going? Like, does no one?
She was the one who put the blood on the mat. That stayed there
dear.
for the rest of the.
Yeah.
But then the last two women that fought,
Yeah.
they were just kind of just dancing around.
Yeah.
They weren't really doing a lot. She just won off of
Yeah.
technicality.
That girl,
but,
that one was 38 years old, and I was just like, you know what? That's horrifying.
yeah.
So that basically
Well, that's
is
good, Morgan.
the main highlight of my weekend was pretty much experiencing that.
Okay.
Nice.
Alright.
Well,
That's
thanks
all.
for sharing.
Was that your first fight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bean dip in blood. I like that. That's good.
Bean dip, salsa.
Yeah.
There's going to be some weird comments on this episode.
There is. There is.
Hey, that's all right.
Well, I guess I'll jump into my stuff before we get into some detailing talk, which is going to be what I did Friday night. Me and the boys went out and did some axe throwing, right?
Yes,
I wanted to take
very
my
cool.
foam axe throwing to the next level, an evolution of axe throwing, as some would say.
Wow.
And so basically,
I'm excited to hear
what I
about
have
this.
found is that it is not the same thing at all. If anything, it's the opposite of foam axe throwing. So here's the deal, guys. I'm going to be honest, right? I'm not going to pretend like I'm some hero here. I threw that axe probably 50-something times, right? Maybe if not more, right? I actually stuck it in the wall probably 5 times.
How many came back at you?
Most of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Did they have the rubber mat below?
They did have the rubber mat below.
Still kind of helps a little.
No, because I didn't even hit that.
Oh,
I was
okay.
hitting like the outside, like the structural ridges of this axe throwing thing, and these
Jeez.
things are flying back. Right? It bounced off the chain link fence once, and the people were like, "What the heck is going on over there?" And I'm like, "Listen, guys, I don't understand what's going on. I'm using the same technique for my foam axes that I've been doing, and it's not giving me the same result."
Trying the underhand.
It's almost like the weight's different or something.
So what I found is that apparently when I throw left-handed, right, I for some reason it's almost like I'm throwing like a curveball, right? Like I throw
Your release is not straight.
I'm like
Yeah.
throwing but twisting. So the
Okay.
axe is spinning over itself, but then twisting around.
Okay.
It's doing a weird thing. So I kept doing that over and over again. I kept missing and missing. I couldn't stick anything. And then my friend was like, "Hey, just like try this. Go straight over the top, but put your finger on the backing, like you're like guiding it with your finger." Tried it, couldn't do it. I was getting so frustrated. I was like, I'm pretty much done.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, you know what? Screw this, right? I'm going with my opposite hand. I'm left-handed, right? But I'm like, I'll throw it with my right hand, right? First time throwing my right hand, bullseye.
So since I'm right-handed, would
Yeah.
I be more beneficial to throw with my left hand?
I have no idea, but all I know is every single time I threw, all 10 times I stuck it or 8 times I stuck
Yeah.
it, were all with my right hand, and I couldn't believe it. And then we ran out of time, and I was like, "That's it. You know, I'm right. You know, I can do it right-handed."
Yeah.
And we were like, "Well, that's cheating if we try to like." You know, because you're using your opposite hand. I'm like, well, not really, because I suck with my other hand. So
Maybe that's the key. That is the key.
I have no idea. So, anyways, so I did axe throwing Friday night. Pretty chill night, pretty calm. And then Saturday morning, I woke up pretty early because I wanted to get a lot of stuff done. And so, basically, I'm trying to think here. Oh man, dude, my weekends always blur together when I try to think back to this kind of stuff, and
Yep.
it's like the
Yeah.
weirdest thing trying to think back. That's what it was. Okay. So Saturday, I wanted to film a couple of the small things around my house for a YouTube channel that I don't make YouTube videos for, obviously.
Oh,
and
sure.
so
Okay.
That's right. It's all TikTok now.
Yeah, exactly. Wanted to make some TikTok videos is what I wanted to do.
And that's how you make a 3-cheese blend.
So what's funny is that so I needed a microphone stand, right? Because I was recording like this exhaust clip, and I needed basically something small like we have here, those little tripod mic stands, right?
Sure.
I had one I got from Amazon for $6, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go down to Guitar Center, see if they have something similar. What I realized is that Guitar Center, you know, I've been going there since I probably was maybe 15, 16 when I got into music and I started playing. I've spent probably thousands of dollars at Guitar Center. I go into Guitar Center, I say, hey, I'm looking for this little mic stand like this, just a little cheap guy, just needs to literally stand up straight. And the guy's like, yep, that one right over there. I grab it, I say, what's the price on this? He's like, $35. And I say, $35 for this piece of
you want it
plastic.
today, don't you?
And then I'm like sitting here, I'm like, my $6 Amazon tripod thing that I have is better than this. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, dude, this is ridiculous. But then it just kind of got me to thinking, right? How much of a markup is pretty much on everything else there at Guitar Center, right? Musical instruments aside, those accessories are just insane. But then it got me to thinking, though, back in the day, you didn't really have the option. You know, you just you went because that was the that was the source.
Either there
of
Dunkley, maybe.
Dunkley.
Well, you just didn't have the
Dunkley's
ability.
going to be more like classical instruments and other stuff, but there are some newer options.
I am
there, too.
surprised every time I pass by that Guitar Center that they're still there.
Correct. Yeah.
It is
And
the worst location.
That little strip
horrible to
mall
get
is-
into. It's a dying strip mall. That more furniture was there, and they did
they're still there.
Well, yeah, and they're
Which
still.
I'm surprised
well,
that they're still
also-
there.
They're still doing no interest till 2080, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Who does
More
that?
furniture.
So I'm
2080.
sitting here like, that's amazing that they're forecasting that far into the future.
So was the mic stand like? Was it actually a nicer one where it's weighted in the
no,
bottom? and
Dane,
it's-
this was the biggest piece I've ever
So this
seen.
is just straight. Was it a plastic tripod or was it a
It was
round
a plastic
base?
tripod.
Ugh.
And they wanted $35, whatever
Okay,
it was.
see, I
the
would have
return
understood.
policy?
What?
Yeah.
Not great. So let me just finish
Okay,
this, right?
okay.
So I said, screw this. I'm just gonna get a normal microphone holder. I'm gonna drill into a piece of wood to get the job done because that's just how annoyed I am. I'll duct tape it before I buy something like
Sure.
that. And so, but I got to thinking, I'm like, okay, you know, we didn't have anything like that back in the day, so that was the place to get all your fittings for all these musical instruments and things. But you know, because how on Amazon would you look up like I need a 5/8 to 3/4 adapter with a boom stand with this angle thing that will fit on my drum set at this, right?
Right.
You didn't. How do you even look? How do you even look for that, right?
Right.
So that made sense, you know, back in the day. But now I'm like looking at all these price markups and Guitar Center. I mean, they have to make that stuff because you know they have, you know, there's probably 10 employees in there working. I'm sitting here thinking, you know, they're only selling probably a couple nice guitars a day, maybe a drum set a day, or who knows. But I did find out that they're supplementing a lot of that by offering guitar lessons now is what they offer. So they offer musical lessons in these little like cubicle style things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Practice
For
rooms.
people that want to learn, which is great because I think more people need to learn how to play instruments. I think it's probably one of the coolest things or unique things that people can do nowadays.
It's
that
not all just STEM people.
most people have just kind of forgotten about. So, anyways, I did that. Long story short. did that, recorded a couple of different things, and then that night I went to my friend's show. He was headlining the Knitting Factory and his band, and I went there, and that was super cool. The Knitting Factory, they really beefed that place up.
I saw you were sitting up in the VIP seats in the mezzanine.
So it's a free show, right? It was a free show.
Oh, for everyone.
But we went to sit down at these mezzanine seats, right? And these people came up, hey, you actually have to pay extra to sit here. And I'm like,
more than zero?
And so I'm like, okay, like how much is it per seat? And they're like, oh, it's $14 per seat and blah, 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 blah. And it was me and my friend and his wife. And and we're sitting there, and you're getting older when you're like, you can either go downstairs and stand, or you can sit up here for $14. And I'm like, man, sitting up here starting to sound pretty nice for $14. So I think I'm going to pay that $14. And anyway, did that.
He does this now that he's 30. He wouldn't have done this if he was 29.
Dude, well, no, it's the style of show. It was a hardcore show, right? So they play post-hardcore music.
Which naturally you want to be sitting down when you're at a hardcore show.
Dude, I just don't want to get punched in the face.
Well,
you're up against.
You don't
want
to be down in the pit.
I saw a guy get a bloody nose right down. I was down there, dude. He was bleeding all over the place.
The nature of it.
And
the people who are into that are into
my wife
that,
used
though.
to go to those shows,
that.
the Big Easy, I mean,
dude,
you would and now you look at videos from 8 years ago, and people are just just having fun to have fun, but they're just purposely messing people up.
Oh yeah, they're just wrecking people, and you get So I'm like, I don't want to get hit in the face. I'm not. That's gonna be a bad time, right? So, but did that, and then Sunday. I ended up getting a bunch of stuff done. So the first thing I did was I went down to the maybe this was Saturday, whatever day it was. I went down to the car wash, the spray and pay, and went down to Dirty Harry's
on Fairview.
I did.
It's my spot.
That's elite. That's my spot.
So the Civic was hammered. It was really, really dirty, and so I haven't washed it for a month since I applied that crystal sealant and the Showstopper mix. Right, I did quick detail about a month afterwards, but the car was just filthy, and so I finally took it down there, sprayed everything off, brought all my own stuff. Because people ask, they say, "Hey, do you bring your own stuff or do you use their?" I'm like, I'll never use the brushes. I'll always bring my own stuff. It takes me 5 minutes to fill up a bucket.
You don't know where that brush has been.
Yeah, so. But went down there, did my spray off. Basically, what I found is that quick detailer held up with all of that, right? So you're going to lose, obviously, your hydrophobic properties when you have dirt buildup, right? You need to remove that dirt buildup, right, or wipe that area with a mitt, and before you see those hydrophobic properties return, right? Like, you're not going to see beautiful water beading on a filthy, heavily soiled car, right? Or as other people call traffic film. And so... So you won't see that, so you obviously have to clean it up. But what was nice, though, too, is that, as I start spraying away a lot of this dirt, I can start to see the hydrophobic properties come back without even agitating it, which was super cool. So basically rinsed everything off, went in there, used detailer shampoo, 1 bucket, grit guard, then 2 bucket it because just wasn't in the mood. Washed the whole thing, and right as I was washing, this Evo 10 pulls up, right? Guy gets out of the car, and he's just like, "Oh, dude, clean Civic." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, man. That's nice. Nice Evo." And he's like, "Thanks. I just got it. I don't know much about him. I'm having this weird idle issue." And then he was like,
contract work.
And then he was like. He's like, I know you have an Evo, and I said, yeah, I do, and he's like,
so he knew exactly who you were.
So he knew who I was, and so he's like, can you take a look at this? So I'm sitting here, kind of like, well, did you come up here for like mechanical advice? Is that why you?
I guarantee you, he was across the street in a parking lot, scoping out. He's like, that's all Dan.
Evo
that's
MD.
Not me.
And then he rolls over. He's like, I know you have an Evo.
No.
And then
So
it turns into the stock.
He asked me, he's like, hey, can you take? So he was having an erratic idle, right? And so I was like, okay, well, the first thing you want to check, because he bought it. It's all modded. He bought it modified. I said, are you still on the MAF? Are you still on an SD intake? What do you want? And we kind of went through everything. He opens up his hood, and I go to grab his intake, right, to check on it. The whole thing is just loose.
No.
It's just literally just dangling around.
Just a floppy intake.
Kind of like my snorkel.
And I was like,
check
dude,
it out. It's hooked up.
It just flops on the side of the car, hitting it.
And I was like, dude, this thing is completely loose. He's like, oh, that makes a lot more sense. And so
you haven't opened the hood to check?
he was like,
Yikes.
well, he's like, I have some other Evo guys coming out here to wash. And so in a minute,
You're like, I gotta go. I gotta get out.
And he's like, I need to leave.
A minute
like a
later,
Fast and
the
Furious
guy with the
scene.
clean the clean Evo 10 that Jimmy has shot a video with before, he shows up,
black
and so the black one. So now these guys are just watching me wash the Civic,
Nice.
right?
Wow.
But it was really cool because they got to watch kind of the process of what I do,
okay.
and then they watched the kind of like the transformation in person, right? So they saw me wash it, rinsed it off. I brought my ego blower with me, so just blew dry it, and then pulled it over out into like the sun where I started to dry it off. So I was using a gauntlet, is the large 30 by 36 gauntlet, and I dried it initially.
Pretty much looked like a car cover on that car.
And it was. And they were looking. They're like, oh man, this looks really clean now. And then I said, well, wait, I want you guys to see this and tell me what your thoughts are. So that's when I pull out the Wowo's Quick Detailer, and I pull out a couple FTWs, and I start wiping it down. And you can see that they were watching, and they say, wow, that is almost instantaneous how much of a difference that makes.
Huge difference.
And they're sitting there watching it, and they're like,
Huge.
well, so what? Like, what do you... So you're just spraying this on. Like, we saw the car a minute ago.
Right.
And we saw the car now, and it does look different. And I kind of explained, I said, yeah, this Quick Detailer just adds a really
Looks
deep
as deep as this red.
deep color. And they were just like sitting there like, wow, like, you know, one of the guys was like, I use Beadmaker. And I'm like, okay, good. Then you know obviously what good products are. And he says that he's been into the rag company once before to pick up some stuff. But the other guy that, you know, just got his Evo had no idea what detailing was or what it was all about, right? He had a Walmart bucket kit in his in his car, right? Which is totally fine.
That's
but
more than a lot of people.
you know what? I
So,
was just, you know, I was happy that he was getting started.
props.
Right.
So I let them get hands on. I say, hey, grab a towel here. I'll let you wipe down my car. And so they're wiping it down. They're like, wow, you know, when did you clay bar this? And I said, which is, that's,
Hey, you know,
I know.
I they must have had the next day Nate clay treatment.
Yeah.
I clay.
So
I clay.
I told him, I said,
Next
hey,
day, Clayt.
Yeah,
I haven't clay barred this car, right, for, almost 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even clay it before the applying the crystal sealant. I just did a chemical wipe down on it, removed what was left of the inspiration, then put the crystal sealant on, and they were right though. It was feeling smooth as glass. So they were pretty amazed. I wrapped up my stuff. I kind of said my goodbyes to them. They actually had left one of the cars to go get tools, right, in the other car, and they said, "Hey, we're gonna leave our car here, but we'll be back if we see you. We see you." And I was getting ready to leave, and I'm like, you know what? Okay, whatever, dude. So I just went and grabbed my bottle of Quick Detailer and I put it on the guy on his window seal, and I was like, you know what, I'll leave him a bottle of this to. So he finally has something good, right?
Pay it
so
forward, man.
Spreading the word of Wowo's.
Spreading the saturation.
And so hopefully, but yeah, he ended up finding me on Instagram, or contacting me on Instagram, saying, "Hey, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the bottle. It made a big difference." And he was pretty stoked on it. So that's something that maybe, like, I think if I do that again, I'll probably always try to leave something for somebody if I meet somebody. I think that's because I was thinking about it. I'm like, why wouldn't I?
It's easy for you.
Better
to
than
get
a
more.
business card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that and a business card.
Like-
That's so sweet.
Well,
where'd this towel come
I'm
from?
just saying, Morgan.
Angel.
I'm saying, Morgan, you can do the same thing.
Wow.
I'm saying with all the stuff that we have access to here, what does it hurt?
Except that sounds like my worst nightmare is to go to the car wash,
Okay.
be
And
talk
surrounded
to
by
someone?
a bunch of people that I don't know.
Okay, well, I don't know what to tell you, Morgan.
Fair.
You're supposed to be
Morgan.
Millions of people are listening to you right
Yeah.
now.
so. But anyway, so I'm just saying, if you go out and you have some stuff, right? Maybe that
that's a
you
great
have from
idea.
work, just give. I don't know, give it out. It doesn't cost us much to be able to do that, and I think it makes a big difference because those people are the people that are already going out of their way to do something better than going through this standard car wash, right? So they're already showing that they have interest in that. So just kind of pushing them forward with saying, "Hey, here's a bottle of this awesome stuff. Try it out. It's not snake oil." But
Well, did you at least quick demo? You did?
On the car, on the Civic. Yeah, I did a
Okay.
quick demo. So, but anyway, so that was kind of that. That was like my, I think, first part of my Sunday. And then what I ended up doing from there is I've been wanting to tackle a rear e-brake adjustment on my Evo. Because after all these years, you get that e-brake cable actually starts to stretch out, right? And you need to readjust it. You can adjust most e-brakes at the handle, right, to obviously tighten them up. A lot of people don't know that you can adjust them at the rear drums, and you have to go through this little peak hole and then, basically get the rotor aligned to where you are at the 6 o'clock position, and then you can get a little tool in there or a screwdriver and basically turn this little gear to tighten up your rear brakes.
Like tuning strings on a guitar.
Yeah, and I haven't done it forever, and my e-brake, right, would not hold. I would have to really crank it up all the way if I was on an incline, otherwise the car would roll back. And it was like literally straight up. So I'm like, this looks so stupid. I'm like, I got to fix this. So I took the wheels off, did a deep clean on the wheels, and actually hit the wheels because the wheels are actually Optico Pro'd. And I actually went over them with C2V3 is what I did on those. And then I also hit my Brembos with, I had some extra G-Technic C5, which is their wheel coating that I hit with the Brembos because the clear coat's already failing on them. I got to get them redone. And I was like, you know what, at least this will be better protection than throwing on a spray sealant. So I hit those with C5 because I hit my new exhaust that I'm going to be installing soon with C5 as well. So for people that didn't know that, you can put G-Technic C5 on your Brembos, on your wheels, and your exhaust.
Very excited.
Is that sarcasm?
No, it's not. Because I saw that you or someone I follow had posted before a clip of that exhaust.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice to compare it before and after.
Yeah. And so, but because the C5, for a lot of people that don't know, is temperature resistant up to about 300 degrees. So, which would be able to withstand most likely the tip of a muffler, right?
Sure.
You're definitely maybe brakes in certain instances. Most likely, most of what your wheels are going to face from daily driving, unless you're a straight up race car driver and you're catching your wheels on fire. So that was just something that. So I did that kind of detailing stuff there, and then I think then last night was pretty chill. Just kind of hung out, didn't do a whole lot. But now that we have 15 minutes left, I did want to get into the discussion of detailing.
All right.
How about this? How about I ask you guys the question, and then we kind of break it down, right?
Okay. Sure.
Okay. You have, from the factory, a matte paint finish, such as the BMW frozen finish colors, or let's just say the AMG frozen colors.
Yep.
There's a lot of different colors that are coming matte or satin finish.
Yeah.
How would you take care of that? What towels would you take care of it with? And what would you use in terms of the chemical process? Nate.
Oh, boy. Man, I don't even know. I guess they'd just wash it like normal with detailer shampoo or Pearl or anything like that. But then are you talking just like a protection? Or
I'm talking about how would you so let's just say you have a matte finish that comes into your bay and they say, hey, I want to get this cleaned up, but it's got this car, I want to get some protection on it. What's your process?
I'd say an FTW with, I'd say probably quick detailer, but I'd like to test it in kind of a little small area of the fender and just see how that changes the properties of the overall look. And then, because I don't know, that would probably make it look deeper, but I don't know if that would make it look satin per se.
Yeah.
And then just, like some FTWs and probably use like a Cyclone with my shampoo or something like that. Something, because I think washing is going to be very similar to almost all paint surfaces. Just be a little bit more delicate. But, I don't know. I don't have rarely any experience with actual matte painted, just maybe like matte vinyl, but I don't know if that's any different. Dane?
Yeah, no, I mean, basically, I would agree with Nate on the front of washing it. You don't have to worry too much about, as long as you got a good, soap, that you don't have to worry about stripping a bunch of stuff off, unless the goal is to strip off pre-existing protection. I don't know if in this hypothetical the car has something on it already.
Could. I mean,
I'm waiting on Anthony because he
yeah.
seems to know. Okay, so assuming you're starting from scratch and the car's just dirty, but it doesn't have any protection on it in this imaginary scenario, you wash it down with a soap, be it Pearl, Optimum Car Wash soap, Wowo's Detailer shampoo, if you're going to go soap. Otherwise, you could go the O&R route. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Depends on how dirty it is. If it's really dirty, you can pre-soak with, all-purpose cleaner, then follow up with O&R. You could do that. But regardless how you clean it, use your traditional cleaning methods. You'll be able to do it just fine. Now, what really comes in, this is the whole reason he's posing this, is because, well, what kind of protection do you put on it when you're done that will maintain that satin/matte look without giving it too much gloss, too much depth? While gloss and depth are appealing in a lot of cases, in this particular case, that's not what you're going for. You're trying to avoid that.
But you also don't want it to look chalky.
No, you don't want it to look chalky. So this is paint, correct? Not a wrap.
Yeah, correct. It's paint.
Okay, so there's no seams or anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would probably go with Optimum Car Wax, spray wax, and put it on there. Just trying to think of the different qualities I get for the look of paint. I wouldn't use Bead Maker. I wouldn't use Quick Detail. I wouldn't use Showstopper. Any of these things that are going to give it a bunch of gloss and depth. I'm trying to avoid that. So, I mean, Optimum Car Wax will give it that, but it looks different than those do. And that's probably the route I would go, especially because there's no seams. You don't have to worry about getting wax under a clear bra or something like that and showing a line or, that kind of thing. So,
Cool. Morgan.
I can't say that I would do anything different. I would probably follow Nate. I would probably do just Quick Detailer.
And I don't know much about it, but with these new technologies and these new finishes, are they actually putting some sort of additive in the paint to have some sort of clear coat-esque protection? Because I know matte is very soft.
No, so for example, these clears that they're putting on, it is a matte clear. I mean, pretty much what they're doing. It would be just as tough, if not maybe tougher in certain cases than a gloss would be, because you have to think about it. Your scratch resistance comes down to, what's that texture like? How soft is it? How glossy is it? Right? Obviously, you're going to see scratches on a very glossy finish over a matte finish, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I think that you guys are all on the right page. But I had a conversation with a guy that said he had a matte finish in for the first time, right? Okay. And he had questions of, how do I wash it? Which towels do I wipe it down with? Right? Which towels are going to make it easiest? Because if you look up on BMW's website or even on AMG's website, they have specific towels that they say, hey, buy our towels to take care of this matte finish, right?
Yeah.
And that are still microfiber towels, right? So people wonder, can I use other microfiber towels? And then it comes down to what chemicals, right? What chemicals can I use? Mm-hmm. What's not going to make it look weird? What's not going to, darken a certain area and make it streaks and stuff? So, and then you have to ask the question of, can he clay that surface, right? So once if he starts getting a lot of contaminants, right, can you mechanically clay a matte finish? So go into what I kind of recommended with this guy. I said the wash process will generally remain the same, right? They wouldn't make a vehicle that you could not wash with soap and water, right? They wouldn't make an unwashable vehicle.
Right. They wouldn't sell many of those.
They wouldn't sell them. So they actually did sell, I think when I was at the Peterson Museum, they actually had a finish that apparently you could never wash with it was gold or something like that. It had something on it that you could never technically wash.
I've heard of that one.
A bank sponsored this car build, and it was made out of gold or copper or something like that. And so basically
practical.
Your wash process is going to remain the same. Use free-flowing water. Use a rinseless wash. Wash it with a mitt. Wash it with a sponge. Big red sponge would be totally fine on a matte finish. But when it comes down to the drying process, right, one big thing you have to remember is a matte finish is obviously going to have a little bit more texture than a clear-coated finish is, right? If it's satin, it's going to be a little bit smoother. If it's going to be completely matte, it could be a little bit rougher. One thing that you don't want is you don't want micro-linting from your towels. The towels that are going to be more often a micro-lint are going to be an ultra plush style towel. Right. So using a towel such as the Pluffle or the Eagle or anything like that has those elongated fibers, that would increase your chance of micro-linting. And micro-linting on a rougher finish is going to be a little bit harder to remove than it would on a smooth finish, right? So when it came to drying, we talked about it. A twist loop would be fantastic. A waffle weave would be great as well, right? You can even use a terry weave would be great as well. But anything that is going to glide across the surface extremely easily and absorb that water. Now, one thing that can still happen is you can still have water staining. You still have hard water spots on a matte finish or a satin finish, which sucks.
Stick out like a sore thumb.
Not ideal. You can still get a lot of those different things. The scratch, like the micro marring, is obviously going to be a lot more resistant. So when we did that AMG at Lupa Motors, it was almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, that was a perfect example.
It was great how scratch resistant you can tell that was, right? You could rub your nails across it, and you're not going to really harm it, right?
Really? Okay.
You're going to see you're going to see like residue from your nails that you just wipe off, and like that's it, right? You're not going to actually see a large indent and scratches. I'm not saying go ham on it, but I'm saying just lightly, it's not going to do a whole lot. Anything that's super deep, that's kind of where you would be kind of screwed. Fortunately, with most matte and satin finishes, they do a good job of hiding scratches, so they're not as visible because of the way that light reflects off of them. But once they're in there, there's really not a lot you can do. I mean, it's just they're in there.
That kind of makes me think that, like on a gloss or a clear coat, when you scratch it, it's definitely going to show because that scratch then turns essentially matte.
Basically, yeah, because
Right?
you are basically dulling that finish,
that
right,
makes
to where you're
sense.
not getting a light reflection off of that.
And then the clay question is pretty interesting. That would that show a little bit more marring?
So that's another great question. Also, clayed this vehicle that I'm talking about. We did that with a Optimum clay towel. Is what we did that. Not the Ultra clay towel. Not the
Different.
Ultra Mist,
This is
right?
the old version.
So this is the old version. Now you still can clay a satin or matte finish, but be wary that you need to use caution because there's a couple things that can go wrong in the claying process. If you get dry drag, right, on a clay anything, right, you are going to get a transfer of clay residue.
Right.
For the most part, you can just scrub it out and you're fine. But on certain finishes, I've had it to where I've dragged and marred a surface, right, to where it needed to be polished out. Going back to the whole idea of matte and satin being able to probably reduce the chance or visibility of seeing that, you're probably going to be fine. But what it really comes down to is having plenty of lubrication.
Sure.
You want to have that panel saturated in lubrication. Have your Ultra Mid or your Ultra Towel or whatever clay bar you're using, have that be so overly lubricated that you wouldn't have the chance of that getting caught up or hopefully not picking up a piece of contamination such as a piece of sand. Like if you can imagine, if you picked up a piece of sand or a piece of gravel in that and rub that across the surface, right, that can happen instantaneously. You do that on a gloss car, I'll polish it out, not a big deal. You do that on a matte car, crap, that's in there, right?
I'd say, I mean, if you're going to get matte, geez, it seems like matte white would be like the ultimate.
Oh, matte white would be
It's gonna
fantastic.
just hide everything.
Yeah, matte white would be pretty amazing. And that's the other thing. The guy came in probably, I want to say a couple months ago that I used to work with. He came in with a matte, it was a black BMW is what it was, with a frozen black. And he said, hey, so if I have rock chips in this matte finish, what do I do about that? And I'm like,
Well, find them.
Fill it with matte paint, basically, is what you're doing. I mean, that's, because you still have your base coat underneath, right? And you're just basically refilling it with either a matte clear or satin clear, or you're just retouching up that.
Yeah, if you fill it with a gloss white, it's going to show up.
Yeah. So, but the guy I was talking to on the phone had just great questions, so I just kind of wanted to address that you can still clay with plenty of lubrication. You want to dry with a short pile towel. You can still wash the same way. Obviously, you want to avoid washing in direct sunlight so you don't get any soap staining, so you don't get any water spots, because once those are in...
Oh, I bet the water spots on that show up really bad.
So you would be basically, at that point, you would be at pure chemical breakdown of those water spots. You would have to use acid rather than polish them out in certain cases. And people can correct me if there's other ideas out there to remove them. But I'm sure in certain cases, if you were to take a little bit of Optimum hyper polish to an area, I think hyper polish probably wouldn't be the worst thing if you had to do a very small touch up on a piece of towel and just finely, try to remove something.
The finish is already dull.
You probably would be fine, and hyper polish does a pretty good job of not increasing I've had more luck polishing out matte things with hyper polish, not having that bad of an effect.
Yeah.
But then going to the whole protection topic, right? Like, what would you lay down as protection? You still can use bead maker. You can absolutely use bead maker on a matte finish, right? It's not going to hurt anything. You can. You could use Woe's Quick Detailer, but I think Woe's Quick Detailer probably has a little bit more gloss enhancers in there, and I would want to reduce any chance of streaking, right? So it wouldn't necessarily be the change in or adding gloss. It would be the wipe marks, seeing a streak from a wipe, or seeing obviously a more oily look in certain areas.
I definitely could just use a fresh towel.
Yeah.
Regardless.
One thing I've noticed just from watching all the people who've used bead maker, there's a lot of like YouTube comparison tests and stuff. One thing that commonly came up when people were doing, say, like a test on just a colored hood or something like that, you put bead maker on there, the color that was covered in bead maker versus another product, it would become darker, deeper. Like, it wouldn't just get more depth. It would actually seem to go, like, down a level of lightness.
Well, that's what Quick Detailer does.
Yeah.
It
basically,
a line.
But what I'm getting at is you put that in a section on a matte car or something like that. It feels like you would notice
You would need to be
all
universally apply
to be
that.
sure,
Correct.
because if you just do that in a spot and you're like, yeah, okay, I'm going to do the hood just to and then it's going to look totally different.
Yeah.
It'll be noticeable. Now, for those who are wondering, the car we were working on over at Lupo, that was a 2015 S63 AMG Coupe. And it was an edition 1 with like the Swarovski crystal headlights and all that stuff. Crazy. So if you're wondering about what the paint code was on that, look for like a darkish matte gray version of that. That would have been the right one. Yeah. It was a cool car. Really cool car.
The other thing too, you can still coat matte finishes.
Yeah.
You can still coat them. You can still do all of that.
Aren't there like matte ceramic coatings?
I mean, there's matte. I mean, there's a lot of matte
things. There's a bunch of like matte Quick Detailers and stuff like that.
Like a good matte Quick Detailer, right? For example, if I were to make a vinyl matte Quick Detailer, right, or wrap cleaner, right, it would be something that wouldn't necessarily specifically have gloss enhancers or anything that is going to deepen or darken the color. That would be my preference. Right. It would be more of a cleaning ability type of thing that might leave protection without necessarily changing the way it looks.
Showing the protection.
Because a lot of the matte detailers out there, it's just people taking Quick Detailer and putting a matte.
Sure, but like if you're going to make a dedicated product, you want to make sure that you're not affecting the look compared to other spots on the vehicle. It just makes sense.
So it really just comes down to like, if you're applying any type of protection on a matte finish, whether it's a wrap or whether it's paint, it's not a matter of, is that going to look, good or is it going to ruin the finish? It's more of a matter of how evenly can you apply that and how evenly can you wipe it off to reduce any chance of streaking or seeing any difference between panels. Correct, yeah. So, like, if you use a ton of Quick Detail on one panel and you can see some obviously deeper look, and then you use a little bit on the other and you can tell a difference, then you would obviously need to make that a more universal look. It'd be the same thing as concept as spraying paint in general.
Yeah, or, adding water. Adding mix. There's too much. I got to add more. Add more. But also, just to play on that point, a lot of people call and ask about their matte black stripes on like their Challengers or stuff like that.
Yeah, most of the time those are vinyls. Sometimes they can be painted in, but you would just spray on like you normally would anything else. I'd probably say still avoid using like an ultra plush towel on those, because when you catch a ridge on a matte vinyl crossover, you catch a ridge, you could get microlinting catching up on the side of that lip there, and it kind of just looks a little ugly.
FTW is like a perfect towel for
use something that glides a little bit easier would probably be my recommendation. But anyways, that's just my thoughts on matte. I mean,
that's a great question.
Maybe more people can chime in on more matte finishes they've detailed. Most people buy matte finishes because they are less how do I say this? You don't have to put as much work into them. They look good.
That's
already.
why I like white, just because it doesn't show as much.
Yeah.
I like my little red truck, it shows everything.
Yeah. Matte requires less maintenance, and I think that Expel makes the stealth film that looks super cool, man. Yeah. Like, I think that if on like my Evo, if I ever wanted to like really change the way it looked without ever having to paint it, throw some stealth film on there, get that to where it's like a frosted metallic. That would look.
Or Plasti Dip.
Nope.
Yeah.
Never
Get
gonna
the
do-
whole
no.
Bosch kit.
Get
and
Fonzie
everything.
over here, dip your
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Oh,
Okay, guys. Well, anyways, Dane, let's go ahead and take it away.
I just wanted to say this was really fun. I like having this conversation here at the end and how you kind of got some different perspectives. The one thing I wish we had done is included this at the front of the podcast so the people with short attention spans who only want detailing stuff could have heard it first
Well,
because I wonder if they made it this
They
far.
stuck around. They were rewarded.
Well, they were
So-
rewarded. That's one way to look at it. But
They
next time we
were
do this, I
rewarded
say
with an
we push
open-ended
it
question.
to the front because I pay attention to these surveys. Speaking of surveys, you should go and fill them out. If you haven't already, that's my segue. So
Dane made the survey.
I will include the links below in a pinned comment on this video on the Rag Company Podcast YouTube channel, as well as in the description of the audio file. So wherever you find it, fill out the surveys if you haven't done it already. It only takes a couple minutes. And other than that, I just want to make sure you guys are subscribed. We all appreciate it. Leave us a rating and review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast from. It really helps us get in front of more people, and we obviously appreciate that a lot. So thank you again, guys. We will catch you later.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.